The views and opinions expressed on the following program may not necessarily reflect the views of the staff, management, or board of Hope Media Group and KSBJ. It's what's happening around us, in our town, suburb, city, in our community. It's Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Hello and welcome to Community Beat, where we're keeping you tuned into the topics that are impacting our local communities and helping them thrive. I'm your host, Kim Kasi McKee, and today's topic is Hope Restored. It makes us think about this resurrection season, and we'll be sharing about a resource to strengthen or perhaps resurrect a marriage in crisis. We're glad to have as our special guest this morning, Dr. Joannie DeBrito. Joannie is a licensed clinical social worker and licensed marriage and family therapist who is now working on the counseling team as a Hope Restored aftercare coach. This role allows her to focus on helping couples have more meaningful relationships. As the former director of parenting and youth at Focus on the Family and co-creator of its suicide prevention program, Alive to Thrive, Joannie continues to speak about suicide and other issues related to youth and young adult mental health. She also speaks about intentional Christian grandparenting. Joannie is a mother of two and grandmother of two, and currently lives in the beautiful Colorado Springs with her husband of nearly 45 years. Wow. Congratulations, Joannie. Well, welcome, Joannie, and thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So, Joannie, let's just jump right in and tell us about this new and exciting ministry for married couples that's soon to open its doors in the great state of Texas.
Hope Restored is a great program that has been around since 2003. And in that time, that program, which is an intensive marriage program for couples either experiencing crisis or some difficulty in their relationship. And since 2003, it's helped 11,000 couples, 99% of whom surveyed after an intensive said they would recommend Hope Restored. And also for those who are going to Hope Restored because they are on the verge of divorce or considering divorce, after several years, 8 in 10 have avoided divorce. So it's shown a lot of success in helping couples who are in crisis or struggling in their marriages.
Wow, that is a very impressive statistic. Can't wait to hear what is the secret sauce that would make this program so effective with so many families.
Well, first of all, it is designed around good clinical evidence-based practice, and it's also Christian-based, so very strongly biblically based. And whereas I think it's normal for people when they are going into any sort of therapy for a troubled marriage, the idea is kind of like, here's my spouse, I'm bringing my spouse to you, and I want you to fix my spouse. That's kind of a typical way that most of us think, because we do tend to kind of be hurting and be selfish and be thinking only about what is my spouse doing wrong. Hope Restored really makes people look at themselves and how they might be contributing to the problems in the marriage in a very gentle, non-judgmental way, in a way that just says, we recognize that we all come from different experiences and we've learned different ways of reacting, some of which are healthy and some of which are not. So let's identify those things and learn how to be kinder and more effective in our communication with our spouses. So it really is a program that exposes couples to some great marriage counseling. There's about 32 hours of marriage counseling available for our 4-day group intensives. And it's a very safe and supportive environment with a maximum of 5 couples and then 2 marriage counselors together. And let me just say that that's something that's really unique and special and effective about the program as well. As a coach, I will often hear people say, I was afraid to go and walk into the group, but in the end, the group experience was one of the most positive things, because people, when they're in crisis, tend to feel like they're all alone and they're the only ones who are struggling. But when they get in a group, they realize, oh, there are a lot of other people struggling, and you not only learn from the therapist helping you as a couple, but you learn as you observe the therapist helping other couples as well.
Joanie, tell me, what's the process like at a Hope Restored facility? Kind of paint a picture for us of what it looks like as a person kind of matriculates through the program.
Well, first, a couple would apply to Hope Restored, and they can apply or get information by calling 866-875-2915. Again, that's 866-875-2915, or go to hoperestored.com. And then as they are accepted into the program, then they will be assigned a time to come. Obviously, they give their date preferences and so forth. And then they will be placed in a group, and then they will be able to go to this beautiful new facility in Texas. There are also other facilities in other areas. We have facilities now in Arizona, Branson, Missouri, in Michigan, and in Georgia as well. But if they're going to Texas, they will be going to an absolutely beautiful facility that is absolutely made for couples and for this kind of an environment. And they will have 4 days and 5 nights in luxury accommodations, and all the meals are served on location.
Wow.
So you are taken really good care of when you're there. And then again, it's usually Monday through Thursday. So you come in Sunday night, and then Monday through Thursday, you go through that 4-day intensive. And that is education of the Hope Restored concepts and tools that will help you not only understand marriage from a biblical perspective, but also you will gain tools to use as a couple when you go home. So different communication tools that will help you communicate better. The program progresses through that 4 days. And again, it's a combination of education and therapy. So there is some time that is taken to teach the tools and teach the biblically based concepts of marriage that might be very different from what some people have learned as Christians in the church. But it is very biblically based. And then there is that time for therapy with couples as well, to talk about the specific issues that are causing problems in their marriages.
Joanie, you mentioned the idea of they apply to the program. Is there particular criteria for couples to be ideal candidates for the program?
I would say that any couple that feels as if they can use some help with their marriage is a good candidate to begin with. There are a couple of things where you will probably have to have some prior help before qualifying to be a participant in Hope Restored, however.
Okay.
And those things would be if there is a current addiction, chemical or non-chemical addiction going on for one or both of the spouses. That's obviously something that needs specialized care before Hope Restore would be appropriate. And the other very obvious one would be if there is domestic violence going on in the relationship. That's something that would need prior care. Now, there are some other very extenuating circumstances or situations for which people might not qualify, but other than addictions and domestic violence, most people will be able to qualify to get in.
Okay, that sounds great. If you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Dr. Joannie DeBrito. She works as a Hope Restored after coach at Hope Restored, which is a new facility that's soon to be opening in Wimberley, Texas, for couples to go and have their marriages restored. And it just sounds like such an amazing program. Now, Joanie, you mentioned the fact that sometimes couples feel that what they're going through is unique to them. You know, they may not realize that other people are struggling with some of the same things that they're struggling in, which is what helps this environment to be so affirming and encouraging, gives them hope for their marriages. Are there some common types of issues that you would say probably come up time and time again with these couples as far as some areas of common struggles?
Sure. I would say that most people identify poor communication and poor conflict resolution as issues that they're dealing with.
Mm,
Also, I'm sure that there's no surprise here that we also have couples coming in and talking about issues of infidelity,
mhm,
issues in their intimate sexual life,
mhm,
issues with financial concerns,
mm.
problems with family members, children, etc. Pornography addiction is another one that we hear quite a bit about.
Okay.
And obviously, behaviors that are either destructive or not constructive to the marriage. But yes, there are a variety of issues that people talk about. I would say those are probably the most common ones. And those are all things that we can talk about at Hope Restored and that people can receive restoration for, and also experience some reconciliation. And some people experience miracles when they come to Hope Restored. They see a relationship that they were sure was ready to be over, and they leave after several days feeling completely renewed of spirit, mind, body, and soul.
Oh, that is beautiful. Joni, what about an age group? Is it appropriate for people who are just starting out in marriage, maybe 20 something all the way up to, whatever age?
Yes. So I think the youngest couple that I have had for coaching was, I think, 20 and 21.
Wow.
And the oldest couple I've had was 79 and 84.
Okay, that
So,
covers the
yeah,
gambit.
absolutely, it does. And the other thing that I want to really stress is that although we talk about Hope Restored being very helpful for people who are in crisis, there are also those people who aren't in crisis but kind of see their marriage beginning to go down a path that isn't productive. And
Hmm.
so they use Hope Restored as a prevention to keep them from
Mm.
going further down that road. And so in any group, we will probably have people that are different ages, people of different ethnicities, people of different life experiences. And certainly, we also have people who fall in the range from minor issues or prevention all the way to we're not sure if our marriage is going to make it.
Mm. Wow. What a wonderful resource that's available to these couples to give them hope that their marriage can be saved. It can get back on track. So talk to
Right.
us about what is the group intensive? What is that like?
So, group intensive is a really good word because it is a group of people. It's no more than 5 couples, or I should say a maximum of 5 couples with 2 marriage counselors. And that is what I talked about before, where you're there for 4 days, but it's broken up by a lot of breaks and wonderful meals provided by the wonderful hospitality staff at all of the Hope Restored facilities. And you're going to be talking with other people about things going on in your marriage. You're going to be learning tools. And I think intensive is the right word, but I want to stress not necessarily bad intensive, but good
Yes.
intensive.
Okay.
So I think, again, one of the things I hear often as a coach is I was a little intimidated about the idea of walking into a group of people I didn't know and talking about intimate things in my marriage. But what I hear they say next is, but it was one of the best things, number one, because normally if I'm in a group, I'm with people that I know, and it's the people closest to me that I might not want to know exactly the most private things about me. There's
Right.
something actually a little freeing about being able to talk to people who don't know more about you. Um, and the intensive part is that you really do get a lot of information in that 4 days that not only you can use while you're there and practice skills while you're there to help your marriage, but information that you can take home with you as well that I then or others on the coaching team can help you to implement so that you keep moving forward after the intensive.
I was just thinking about a weekend that me and two other couples went to together. We had just a really good time. And how might it be determined the group that a couple is going to end up in? If they come with someone, does that mean they're automatically going to be with that couple, or that's handled on the back end administratively, that people, couples are put in different groups?
Yeah, it's handled administratively. Typically, those couples will be in different groups.
Okay.
Now, what they can do, however, is that very often groups will get to know each other who didn't know each other before Hope Restored, and they kind of bond around the intensive experience. And very often they will return for one of our weekend seminar formats, which is Friday night to Sunday afternoon. And so often they will return together, or they'll come a year later as a reunion. Also, if couples happen to travel together but be in different groups, they may decide to go back later on for one of those weekends, which is just an educational seminar format from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon. They may decide to go together at that time.
Okay. Sounds good. So, Joanie, how bad should a marriage be before a person considers, I may need to make this investment and go to Hope Restored?
Well, again, I would say that one of the best uses of Hope Restored is when your marriage isn't in the worst place that it's been, where it actually is doing okay, but you're beginning to recognize, boy, some things have changed, or you've just discovered something about your marriage that you weren't aware of that's causing some trouble, or maybe you've experienced a lot of losses in your life and those are wearing down on you and affecting your marriage, what have you. So if you are able to identify problems before they reach a crisis stage, that's a great time to go. So I would never say to someone, wait until your marriage is really falling apart before you go to Hope Restored. I'd rather say go as early as you can. I do want to emphasize, however, that if you are in crisis, there is hope. So if you are in a situation where you feel as if your marriage is on the rocks, if you're thinking about divorce, or even if one of you has already filed for divorce, we have folks come to Hope Restored in that situation on a regular basis. And your marriage can be restored. There is hope for every couple.
That's beautiful. And I'm thinking about what it would mean to these couples just to have people presenting and facilitating these sessions like you that's been married 45 years. Just a test. I mean, wow, that's a testament all in itself that it can be done. So to be able to share practical wisdom and lessons learned and all of that is just tremendous.
Yes, and I think one of the beautiful things about Hope Restored is that the therapists are very open about their own struggles in appropriate ways, so they don't talk about themselves to the extent that they take over the group, but they use self-disclosure in ways that I think put the other couples at ease. Even the co-founder of Hope Restored, Bob Paul, who is also one of the therapists, talks pretty openly about part of the reason that he was interested in developing Hope Restored because of some of the issues that he had in his marriage that were able to be restored by using these concepts and these principles.
So, Joanie, does Hope Restored offer intensive for pre-marriage counseling?
Hope Restored does offer premarital intensive, and they are always private, only 3 days, not 5 days, and they can be with 1 or 2 therapists. However, we are not currently offering those in Wimberley, Texas. Probably in the future, those will be available. But if someone is interested in a premarital intensive, again, they can call that Hope Restored Registrar at 866-875-2915 to get more details.
What about those who've gone through one of the group intensives and may want to revisit some of the principles and things that they've learned? What does the aftercare program look like, and why would that be important?
Well, there are a couple of different options there. One would be that they could go to one of the weekend programs that I mentioned before. They could also do another private intensive. Those are 3 days will all have the opportunity to participate in aftercare coaching. So when you purchase a in group intensive experience, that comes with 2 aftercare coaching calls that you have available to you. And then after you do those 2 aftercare coaching calls that have already been paid for in your fee for the intensive, you can also sign up to purchase more aftercare coaching. And that is what I do for couples. I help them after they come home to be able to figure out, okay, boy, we were at the intensive and things went really well, but our food was cooked for us. There were no distractions, no kids, no dogs, no work, no cleaning the house. Everything was taken care of for us. So, of course, when they return, then sometimes people will experience a little bit of backsliding. And so my job is to say, okay, let me help you get back on track so I can help you move forward. And so that's basically what I do. And then after those 2 provided coaching calls, they can sign up to purchase more aftercare coaching. And some people do. Some people continue to do coaching for a year or more. They just keep adding on coaching calls.
Okay. That's awesome. So there are definitely ongoing opportunities to stay plugged in, connected, and on track.
Definitely.
If you're just tuning in, we have been talking about Hope Restored and the grand opening of their 5th facility that's going to be in Wimberley, Texas. Hope Restored is an intensive, biblically based Christian counseling experience for couples who are facing a crisis moment in their marriage or who want to prevent there being a crisis in their marriage. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to hoperestored.com.
So there is an open house today, and the ribbon cutting starts at 1 o'clock. From 1 to 2, there is ribbon cutting, and that open house is available to anyone who wants to come. Please come one and come all. There will be the ribbon cutting ceremony and refreshments and special guests, tours of property, and also you can meet and speak with Hope Restored counselors. And again, that's today from 1 to 4 p.m.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Joannie, what can you say to encourage a couple who may feel that they are headed for divorce? They may feel like there's no hope for their relationship. What might they experience if they take the time, invest the energy and the resources to come and experience the Hope Restored Intensive?
I think that they will experience the Spirit of God working in the therapeutic process and in the intensive process. They will receive good biblical teaching about marriage and what is intended for each one of us in our roles as husband and wife. But I think they'll also experience the hope that is provided from the counselors and from other participants as well, that all things can be healed by the Lord. We know that God is the architect of all healing. And I think that they will come feeling burdened and leave feeling less of a burden on their marriage and have hope not only that comes from knowing that God is always with us and God cares about our marriage and God wants us to succeed in our marriages, but also have biblically based tools that they can take with them, that they can apply while they are there and as soon as they get home, and that they will also have entered a community of hope so that as they leave, they will have all of these aftercare resources, including those weekends that we talked about, but also they will have lots of other resources that they leave with to continue that journey of hope so that they will be able to reconcile as husband and wife and also restore their marriage.
Thank you so much, Joannie, and may God bless you and the team. And certainly you have utilized your education as a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed marriage and family therapist, and now working as a Hope Restored aftercare coach, using those things to impact so many marriages and families, which impacts generations. And so we are very grateful you're serving in that capacity. And also understand that in addition to being an aftercare coach, you can also speak on topics like suicide prevention, marriage and family issues, and grandparenting. And we would certainly love to have you come back to speak to us about some of those other topics.
Oh, I'd love to do that. It's such a blessing to work for Focus and to be able to use that information just to serve the Lord and to serve the community. So thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yes. And again, tell us, where can we go to find out more information about the grand opening of the Hope Restored facility?
You can go to hoperestored.com and click on the Texas site information. And if you have any specific questions related to the site in Wimberley, you can call 512-229-1900.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Joannie DeBrito, for joining us today. And thank you also to our listening audience for joining us. And we hope you'll tune in again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Thanks for joining us for Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee. Join us every Saturday morning at 5:30 on 89.3 KSBJ.